may have been the most impressive win to me of the season because, 5-0. You're down. You're toast. You're toast. You haven't even gotten an out into the game yet. Come on. Even the most hardcore Indians fan was on the verge of clicking channels at that point and going, yep, you're not going to suck me in anymore. And like I said, I'm watching it, and I'm just hearing people go, man, I'm done. J-Rock, you better be talking about Johnny Football and Brian Hoyer tomorrow. I don't want to hear no more about the Indians. And bam, that's what I'm saying. They dug out when they shouldn't have, and when perhaps at other points in the season they wouldn't have. And the people that chipped in were unlikely. The bullpen just continues to be. That was one that I'm proud to say that I had right in spring training. I said, man, I don't know if all the pieces are in place coming out of spring training, but the Indians have all the pieces to make up a really, really good bullpen this season. And as we've seen, they have just continued to lean on that thing. Crockett ended up with the victory last night. Allen with the save. And, hey, Michael Bourne back in that lineup, got himself a couple of hits and an RBIs. And you need to see that. It's good to see him back in there. And again, once again, looking up and down the lineup, you got contributions a little bit here, a little bit there, Even Carlos Santana, he did. Yesterday, they hit on everything that we talked about on the show. He went over 3, but he got a walk. But, you got contributions from everybody. Everybody except Santana and Dickerson contributed with at least one hit yesterday. Yanni went 3 for 4 and Bourne 2 for 4. So you get that. When you get, if the Indians just play the way they played yesterday, I'm telling you, then the rest of this season can get as exciting and as fun as a lot of people hope it would be. It really could. This move in the line, getting things, as you see, they didn't come back with a 5-run inning to match Minnesota. They came back 1, 2, 1, 3. They rocked them, teetered them, and then took it over the top. But it was a contribution from everybody when you look down, whether it was Kipnis here, Chisenhall there, and then, a guy like Holt comes in and brings the lightning and the thunder, baby. And, obviously feeling good, but there's a reason you should feel good, not just because of the comeback. But again, they did exactly what Jeff and I were talking about yesterday. You've now put yourself in position with Kluber on the back end of the series to take this series now, at least. Obviously you'd like to win as many as you can, but you're now in position to take this series, take 2 out of 3, which you've got to do before you move to the next one and the next one. And you've got to plow these next 3 series, 6, 7 wins heading into the big ones, heading into Kansas City and Detroit. Then all of a sudden you can lick your chops and zero in, and then they feel the heat too. They can feel you barreling down, just much like Kansas City made its run and Detroit backed back. It had been a minute since a team had made a run on Detroit like that, and now it's the Indians' turn. Schedule's playing out in their favor. If they can continue, we'll talk about Bauer. We can get more into him, and I'm going to talk more about this with Dan Wismar when he joins us in a little bit, but I'm going to talk about it with you now. I'm going to the phones. Caller, you are first up on the Sports Fix.
Good morning, J-Rock.
Good morning. This is my man, Bruce.
Yep. Hey, a couple things about Bauer.
Yeah, because I hadn't even started. That was the one kind of, but then he got kicking, man. So that's why I'm giving him a little bit of slack, but what happened at the beginning? You can't let that happen again, my man. We can't let that happen again.
Well, what happened was when he was pitching, he wasn't finishing his step. When pitching coach went out there and talked to him and told him, that he wasn't stepping far enough, the very next pitch was a 3-run homer. So, apparently that
right
wasn't...
Right after that, boom. Right after that, though, whatever he figured out...
He retired 14 in a row.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. But, next time I'd prefer if you'd skip the beginning part. But, yeah, so he did get it right in. And that's a good thing. I think that, though, what you just pointed out does show that, yeah, of course you don't want to start out your game like that. You don't want to start out pitching like that. But the ability to correct and the ability to correct within the game is something that's a unique thing. And that was good to see. That's why I said, yeah, I wasn't happy with the way it started. But then when he locks in, you're going, man. And it's the tale of 2 games, because Because other than that, he was dominant rolling the rest of the way through, But I do like the fact that you can correct it and that Mickey Callaway has enough of a grasp, at least on Bauer, not on everybody maybe, but where he saw it, he fixed it. It took him a minute, and they got it, and luckily the Indians were able to take care of business.
And as soon as he walked the batter, I believe it was, 4 1/3? That he pitched, and then he walked the batter after the 14 retired in a row.
Yeah.
They took him right out because he was tired. He had already thrown, a lot of pitches in that first inning. I believe it was 33.
Well, but he was only at 87 for the game at that point, so I was a little surprised that they didn't let him try to finish that inning. But at the same time, with the bullpen doing what it's been doing, I get that. I understand that. And once again, I mean, look at how many 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers to get you through the second half of that game. Everybody comes in and fills their little slot,
Yep, everybody in that bullpen just does their job on a daily basis, and then you turn it over to Cody at the end, and it's supposed to be lights out, which it is most of the time. But
I don't pay attention to the hold statistic. They keep that one too. How often in a game do 5 pitchers get credited with a hold? Because Atchison, Zepchinski, Lee, Hagedorn, and Shaw all got credited
with
a
hold last night.
I don't know that I've ever seen 5 pitchers get a statistical recognition like that in a game. Is that? I don't know, because I don't.
No,
I don't
it's
pay
not.
attention
It's
to
not
that
a regular thing, but it has happened to us a couple of times this year.
And there you go again. They come through once again with it,
And
but do you agree with me?
Tito's not afraid to use 7 pitchers in a night, though.
No, absolutely not. And then when they come through, hey man, then you can't double think about that. But do you agree with me about the win last night? I know some people will say, well, it was the Twins and they're 10 games under 500, and I get that. But man, just between the enormous lead that was, right off the bat put on the table, for them to turn back and to chip back, to me, that felt like that win. Like last year, that felt like Giambi's walk-off. Not exactly, but it felt like that win that perhaps now breaks these guys through a little bit, gets them up above that 500 mark, gets them rolling downhill a little bit,
Well, it's not only that, though. I mean, it's the fact that we came from 5 runs down. That's great, but there was a lot of time, and the Indians don't usually score till like the 6th or 7th inning anyway. But I mean, we didn't get it all back at once. We chopped away a little at a time, like you said, and with everybody did their part except Santana, but I mean. I think he's the only one that didn't have a hit last night.
Him and Dickerson. Were
Dickerson,
the only 2 that didn't have a hit.
Okay. All right, but other than that, everybody kind of chipped away at this guy that never gives up a home run. He gave up one in the second inning, And so right after that, you knew, I mean, you didn't expect 5-0, but once they started scoring and once they started hitting, you expected them to, to break it down. And
let me ask you a question.
Minnesota's still a professional team. I mean,
yeah, they are.
So, they got guys
Dozier,
that can,
man. I like Dozier. He made a couple plays over there at second. He made one really nice one that I was like, hey man, I like that guy. But I wanted to ask you real quick before you go into your next thing, Zach Walters. I know you and I talked. You weren't, you didn't even know why, and I get it why the Indians picked him up. I know that he's just a young kid in progress, but man. I'm telling you, man, I see some of what the Indians saw, at least what intrigued them about him. That guy can hit the ball at the major league level, I think.
He can hit. I mean, he surprised me. I mean, I'm usually not one to write him off before I even see him, but, why get a shortstop when we already have a shortstop coming up is my point. But, this guy can play second. And
he can play a little third and a little outfield, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so, he's been pretty much everywhere since we called him up.
He brings you kind of that Aviles, a little bit of what Aviles brings you with his ability of being able to play in the various positions,
And don't we need that now that,
yes.
We have a couple of bench people that aren't there anymore?
No,
well, they're on the DL, but I mean, so
I absolutely agree. But I wanted to mention Walters because I watched him. He got the one hit last night, and I like his approach at the plate. I mean, again, look, I know he's got work to do. I mean, I think that, overall too, you look at his numbers and he's hitting around 200 for the season, but that's I think misleading because I like the small little body of work that we've seen so far. Like, I'm intrigued to see him if he's on this team in spring training, see what he can do, And how about speaking of that, Ramsey, he went 5 for 5 the other night down at AAA, man. That's another one that looks like he's at least intriguing enough to where I go, hey, I do like these two guys that they picked up at the break or at the deadline. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but are you excited about the September call up? I mean, we got, we can bring up 12 guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not
and I'll
sure
tell
where
you
we're
who's
going to play
excited
them all.
about it is Terry Francona because now he can have a 22-man bullpen. Man, he can.
No,
he can
God,
go
that's
out
his
there.
wife's dream.
I'm telling you, he can go out there and have a pitcher for every batter on the other team. That's the way he's going to go about it from here on out, man.
But no, I mean, we got people down in Columbus that are ready to play now, and, we just brought these guys up to see what they can do at the major league level, so we can actually see them. But, Columbus is loaded.
Well, I agree with you. I was not cool with Holt going back down. He's a young guy that I want to see get some opportunity. I liked Dickerson when we first picked him up, but I mean, he cooled off. He came back down to earth, and very quickly you figured out why he's had a hard time catching on a lot of places, And to me, when they sent Holt down, I know they're up and down with a lot of guys, and they make their decisions based on what they need for the next couple of days. But if it's a choice to me, the rest of the way until they expand the rosters, Dickerson's going before Holt. I want to see the young guys. Same with Walters. I want to see those guys get the stick in their hand a little bit here, as long as they still keep us competitive, which they're doing. I don't want to just plan for next year, but if we can get a look at next year while we're trying to win this year, I'm okay with that.
Right. I'd like to finish out this year before I think about next year.
That's right. That's right.
So,
I'm with you, Bruce.
But,
I know you're feeling good after last night. I mean, what do you think here? I mean,
that was a great comeback. I mean, that was the biggest comeback of the year for us, and
I think so.
Being 5 runs down before you even have an out, you got to be standing in the outfield saying, "Come on, can we get somebody out?"
And I don't care what anybody will tell you. I know that there's a few. I'm talking to one of them, super hardcore fans. But I wish I could get a truth serum to the people that get the ratings over at Sports Time Ohio, because I would love to see how many people
shut it off last night
and then came back after an inning or slowly came back. But I wonder how many people were done, because I wouldn't blame you. That's one night that I wouldn't blame you. I mean, you fall down 5-0 before you've gotten the first out, and especially the people that are already ready to, they've got 1 foot out the door anyway on Indian season. I could totally justify last night going, man, these guys just went and laid an egg after I got all hyped up thinking, okay, the Indians are getting back into it. And then yesterday they did do that finally, so they came through. That's why I say, man, that may be the one where they finally wake up and go on this run where they win, 6 of 8, 7 of 9, 8 of 10, and really get yourself in a real contention position here.
Yeah, I believe I was talking to Charles last night, and after the first inning, I said, Bauer doesn't have it tonight. He looks like AAA again, And
exactly.
Then he retired 14 in a row, so that kind of, shot that out the window. But no, he pitched well once they came out and they said, look, you're not finishing your step. And, he gave up the home run right after that, and then after that he settled down. So, he actually, thought about what he was doing, I guess, or something, but he was pretty much worn out. I think he threw 33 or 35 pitches in that first inning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that pretty much put him under the 8 ball there, And for those of you, by the way, that do the scoreboard watching, the Indians, because I saw some guys on my Twitter, they're like, well, the Indians didn't gain any ground. They did, though. I mean, you take a look. The Indians yesterday, they've now tied with Toronto, who's dropped a couple of games in a row. Tampa, after working all that way to get themselves